The second one I want to talk to you is one of my favorite ones, which is Nelson Mandela. I was looking for different ones, and the reason I picked Nelson Mandela is because Nelson Mandela's story is also a story of personal difficulty and personal resilience and personal courage. I think that's very important, probably more than many other equal people. Now, I suggest you should read his book called The Long Road to Freedom, which is a very interesting and very important book to read. Now, to look at his basic principles of leadership, I think, in my view, Nelson Mandela's leadership was based on three principles. One was a clear and simple goal, which people understood. And that's the case also with Gandhiji, for example, because you're looking at fighting for independence. So that's nothing complicated about that. It's simple to understand. What's in it for me? WIIFM, people understand. This is why I'm fighting, because it's my life, it's my freedom, my dignity, and so on. So easy to communicate, easy for people to sync with it, easy for people to link to it. So it's clear and simple goal. Second one was resilience. And now that is a very important thing, because Nelson Mandela was put into Robben Island. I've been to Robben Island prison. I've seen that. He was put there on a life sentence, sentenced to death in the prison until he dies. Incommunicado, no communication with anybody. 27 years. There are several of you here who are not 27 years old yet. So Nelson Mandela was in prison longer than you have been alive. But in that 27 years, the man did not give up his dream. He did not become bitter. He did not, lose hope. Nothing. 27 years. Resilience is comprised, and my current Fajr reminders are on resilience. So those of you who listen to them, you would have heard two, and tomorrow, inshallah, the third one. Resilience is based on three factors. Number one factor is the willingness to look at your situation and face the brutal facts. Unfortunately, I think this is something we don't do. We like to look at our situation as Muslims or as individuals through colored glasses. We like to blame other people for what is happening to us and so on and so forth. We need to face the brutal facts, and we need to say that I am deep in it and it stinks. That is the actual reality. So, first part of resilience is the willingness to face the brutal facts. Second part of resilience is simultaneously and perhaps paradoxically have hope and complete faith in eventual success, even when there is no data on the ground to support that you will ever succeed. Now we see both of these in the life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I'm not going into that detail. I've already mentioned that in the two Fajr reminders, so listen to that. So paradox, because on the one hand you are facing the brutal facts, which obviously will make you feel discouraged, which can drive you to despair if you allow that to happen. Simultaneously, with facing the brutal facts, you have this faith in eventual success, even though that faith is not really grounded in current reality. So if somebody turns around and says, what gives you the idea that what you are saying will actually happen, you really have no answer for that. But still you believe that. Two, third parameter of resilience is then the ability to do what it takes to succeed, to make a way through the mess. These three characters. And Mandela proved all of these. So that was then. Finally, the third part of his strategy was the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the whole concept of reconciliation. Because how did he deal, or how did he persuade the people to deal with 50 years of brutal oppression, of apartheid? Absolutely brutal oppression of apartheid. How did they deal with that? They did not take revenge. That's an amazing. The only example of that I have is from the seerah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when he conquered Makkah. He did not take revenge after 13 years of persecution. In the case of Mandela, it was 50 years of brutal persecution, and they did not take revenge. They actually worked towards reconciliation. Only single case, because if you look at any other place, there was revenge, there was all kinds of things, and a lot of bloodletting. But in South Africa, this did not happen. So, three clear, simple goal: resilience and the willingness to forgive. And Mandela demonstrated that by living by those values. One of the many, many wonderful stories about Mandela, but one of the nicest stories that I recall is the head of Hewlett Packard, HP, as part of their CSR, they were doing some work with the Nelson Mandela Foundation in Johannesburg. So he asked for a meeting with the president. That's when Nelson Mandela was actually the president of South Africa. Mandela agreed. They set up a breakfast meeting. So the president of Hewlett Packard, he came. He got off and he says that the president was standing at the foot of the stairs to receive him, which is again, not protocol. I mean, normally he would be received by an ADC and taken inside, but here the president himself was waiting at the foot of the stairs. The man said, I got off, my driver took the car away. We went inside and we sat, and after a little while, we went to the breakfast table. President Mandela said to him, wasn't there somebody else in the car with you? He said, yes, sir, that was my driver. He said, wait a second. He went outside, he called the driver, he said to the driver, your boss wants you to join us for breakfast. He said to the man, this boss is a white man, driver is an African. So he said to the driver, your boss wants you to join us for breakfast. So the driver is very happy. They come, they eat breakfast, and the meeting is over and they go back home. Now on the way home, the driver says to the boss, he says, sir, I want to thank you very much for inviting me to join you for breakfast, because it was my dream to meet my president, Mr. Mandela. But I'm a poor man, I have no access, I couldn't have met the president. It's thanks only to your invitation that I was able to meet the president. So the boss says to him, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, you came, but I didn't invite you to come and eat breakfast. He said, no, sir, but that's what the president said. The president came to me and he said, your boss wants you to join us for breakfast. Now, that's the meaning of living by your own values. So what are the principles of Mandela's philosophy? As I mentioned, clarity about core philosophy, willingness to live by his own values, ability to take diverse people along. The black African people, and then black African is actually is the wrong term to use, because the people are divided according to their tribes. It's not the skin color which makes a difference, it's which tribe and so on. There's the Xhosa and the Zulu and others. So the different people of different tribes, then there were the Indians and then the white people and so on. In the white people, the Afrikaners, the English people. So all of these, taking them along together, willingness to live by the values, ability to take along diverse people, toughness and resilience which inspired others, not allowing adversity to poison himself and poison his own thinking. The man did not become bitter, he did not become revengeful, and he did that. And finally, absolutely blows you away, is the magnanimity and forgiveness which wins the hearts of people. So winning over opposition, not easy, very, very difficult, but that's what he was able to do. In the case of Genghis Khan, you saw a short-term focus, what I can get my hands on, what I can enjoy myself on, that's it. In the case of Mandela, you're looking at a very long-term focus, freedom for the nation, building people together, keeping hearts together, and ensuring that you build a strong nation. What remains today is independent South Africa. We come to the third of great achievers, and that is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once again, a lifespan of 62 to 63 years, out of which once again the first 20-something years were not as a prophet, were the years of growing up and so on and so forth. He got his prophethood at the age of 40 and he passed away at the age of 62 or 63. I want to use this quote of Lamartine, which many of you I'm sure are familiar with, very well written, by somebody who was not a friend of Muslims or of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So nothing more credible than the praise of an enemy. The man says, if greatness of purpose, smallness of means, and astonishing results are the three criteria of human genius, who could dare compare any great man in history with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Imagine, greatness of purpose, smallness of means, and astonishing results. It's very important for us to keep this in mind, because many times we say that we can't achieve something because I don't have money, I don't have resources. not a consideration, not a condition of success. Greatness of purpose. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never brought his purpose down. Right? I wrote a piece this morning on entrepreneurship, and one of the things I wrote that was the hallmark of great achievers is that they never had a plan B. Now many people will disagree, and when I teach management, I don't teach that, but that's one of the things we say to people, have a plan B. But if you look at any great achiever, they did not have a plan B. And the reason is, a plan B dulls the edge. You feel you have a safety net, so you do not work hard enough. You need to be desperate, you need to be hungry, you need to know that this is do or die, and that's what enables success. What was Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's plan B? There was no plan B. What was Salahuddin Ayyubi's plan B, rahmatullahi alayh? There was no plan B. You name it. You name any great achiever in the world, and they had no plan B. Why did they not have a plan B? Because they were not planning to fail. Why do you need a plan B? In case I fail. Well, I'm not planning to fail. So why do I need a plan B? It's not a matter of just saying these words. It's a matter of believing that in your core and doing that and demonstrating that in your life, where then success is yours. Now, what were the principles of the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? I'm not going into the entire seerah, obviously, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's seerah, we have gone over it in these classes as well. Many of you attended those classes, so you can look at those lectures again. But 4 key principles. Number 1 is living his message. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not talk about Islam, he lived Islam. Number 2 was putting himself on the line. Being a leader, which by definition means from the front. There's no such thing as a leader from behind. Number 3 is goal comes first before personal preferences. The ability to deal with people who were his enemies, the ability to deal with people who didn't like him and he didn't like them, but the ability to take them along because they were key to the success of the mission. And the last and most important one perhaps is magnanimity and forgiveness. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam defeated enemies not by killing enemies, but by killing enmity. He defeated enemies not by killing enemies, but by killing enmity. So the enemies became his friends. They didn't die, they just turned over and they became his friends. So a global mission with global concern. Now, what remains today? This is what remains today. People of all sizes and shapes and colors, 1.5 billion people across nations, nationalities, races, geographies, who love him and believe in him and accept his message, even if they have to die because of that. What is his legacy? The Quran and Sunnah, Tawheed wal Akhirah, because he was a prophet first and last. Number 2 is forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be reflected in forgiveness on the earth. Not taking revenge, not holding grudges and so on and so forth, forgiving each other. Number 3, charity as an act of worship, zakat and sadaqat. Number 4, egalitarianism, brotherhood of mankind and brotherhood of faith. Both, not only of faith. Number 5, a legal system in which there is absolute equality as far as justice is concerned between the Muslim and non-Muslim, between the rich and poor, between the powerful and the powerless. So justice, equality, compassion and charity, these are the legacy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is his legacy? Complete equality in the rights of people with no distinction between Muslim and non-Muslim. Rights for women that they still do not have in the so-called free world. Data as on 2015. A constitution, first such document ever to be written in the history of mankind, which guarantees equal rights for everyone irrespective of faith. This is written down. And the last one is an absolutely unparalleled example of personal life as a guidance for all of mankind. So, human rights, non-discrimination, and a personal example. Now, how do we translate all of this into our lives? 3 CTS requirements, critical to success requirements, if you are serious about success. First one is passion. I quote Steve Jobs, he said, your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work, and the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Right? I was teaching a course recently, last week actually, in Delhi for the SSB, and they asked me, at the end, they asked me the question, they said, at your age, how do you have so much energy? So I said, Chavan Prash. But then they started laughing. So I said, obviously I don't teach German, but I said, I have the energy because I love what I do. It's as simple as that. I absolutely love what I do. I don't have a bumper sticker saying, I would rather be golfing. I would rather be doing this work. There's no other thing that I love more than this. So alhamdulillah, the energy is there. You cannot work, you can't do excellent work, and you cannot have energy unless you love what you do. And that's why I say to people, if you really don't like what you do yourself a favor, do the whole world a favor, just stop doing that, go and do what you like to do. Don't waste your time doing something which you really don't like to do. That's a very stupid way of living, that you're going to be spending a large part of your life doing something which you essentially don't like. Number 2 is risk-taking. Goethe says the dangers of life are infinite, and among them is safety. Seeking safety is the number one danger in life. Nothing more dangerous than that.